How do we do it then, guys? How do we beat Switzerland? I know what you're thinking. They're going to throw it away. They're going to blow it away. But I know they can play. I'm not absolutely certain if they can play. We haven't really played up until now. But I was there when Bellingham scored that wonderful goal. And it gave me a little bit of belief that even if you are utter trash, you can get the job done. And so what we need to do here is draw a line. And what is the best way to do that? Well, let's have a look at Switzerland. That's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to look at the strengths that they have, how they work in build-up, but also, crucially, in all of this, I'm going to ask you one crucial question. Have you followed JLAFC yet? If you haven't, it's wonderful. It's fantastic. There's a link in the description, and you can do that right now. We're trying to get ourselves to 10k followers. That would be wonderful. So if you would like to do that for me, that would be delicious. Far more important than that, we're going to talk about the Toblerone of Doom. That could hurt England. We've had a look at Switzerland, how they're going to set up, because I think how they are going to set up is pretty clear. But can we combat that? And how exactly do we do that with Luke Shaw? Importantly, I think, without Luke Shaw as well. Also, what would Gareth do? What is Gareth going to do? I've got to say, there are some elements here when you come up against this Swiss side. If we play with certain principles, we can get it done. If we play with other principles, we are finished. You guys, of course, will have your opinions on how we should set up. Again, I'm going for a different 11 again. And the reason for that is because of how Switzerland play and how brilliantly they have played and how we both stop them and hurt them. And we're going to show you some examples of that as well. So obviously the top line here is that this is how they are most likely to set up. They're going to play 3 at the back, 5 at the back if you want to put it that way as well. That 2 in the middle of Freuler and Xhaka, so important. And Ndoye and Bolo and Vargas. Now, what's really, really important is that this team is well put together. I think Akanji has been probably the best centre-back in the whole competition. He's been absolutely phenomenal. But how they play is really, really important in how England need to set up and how we can hurt them as well. Because what they do like to do is play to the boy, Xhaka. Now, let me show you something incredibly interesting from our beloved partners, StatHead. Because this... when we talk about Xhaka and people thinking, oh, is he good? And a lot of people, casual fans will go, oh, he was all right, wasn't he, for Arsenal? And then he went off. What's important here is how Switzerland play is exactly how Xhaka plays for Bayer Leverkusen. So I wanted to illustrate that to you. So if you're a Premier League fan, how am I able to do that? Via the medium of StatHead, the most comprehensive database on the bloody internet. If you want 20% off or a free month, just enjoy a free month on your boy Allcott. There's a code and a link in the description. And what's crucial here is I was able to kind of go into the criteria and find out exactly what I wanted, which was passes into the final third. You see on the left-hand side. In the last season, in the big 5 leagues, we've had a look at that. And what's come up? Well, I think this shows it. Rodri and Man City own the ball, keep the ball, but also you've got to have someone who's going to progress from build-up through. That's been a big problem for England. Xhaka is just behind one person. That person is Rodri. In terms of passes into the final third. Progressive passes into the final third for Leverkusen last season. He's doing the same job for Switzerland. Rodri's got 378. But if we talk about Toni Kroos and what he's been doing, playing for Real Madrid and Germany, 327. And Toni Kroos has an outrageous amount of touches as well. And then if we kind of bring it to the Premier League, Pascal Gross and Declan Rice are the next best two. So Granit Xhaka, in terms of what he's able to do, hopefully this illustrates it well, in terms of getting those passes into the final third, he's absolutely crucial. So let me show you how they build up. We showed you the tactics of them quickly, and I will do that one last time just to get that in your mind, but I'll be able to illustrate it hopefully just as well here in the build-up phase. So this is the game against Italy. They were fantastic against Italy. Obviously, Italy pushed a little bit near the end, but very, very comfortable in what they did. So what do they do that's so impressive? And when it comes to Xhaka, and I guess, again, if we're showcasing that sort of lineup, the back 5 is this. So you've got those 2 wing-backs who are going to stay high and wide because what they want to do is they want to play the ball through the middle, ideally. And Xhaka is obviously a crucial part of that. And often, Xhaka will be the one that drops deep to try and get himself involved. Let's make sure we're zoomed out. There we go. So that's how they're going to set up. And what they want to do is they want to take players out of the game. And a bit of a theme for the video today, or the stream today, is being able to get in behind the opposition. That's kind of the point of the build-up, is that you sort of suck in players a lot of the time, and then you can get in behind. And that's what they're looking to do here. And one thing that is a bit concerning when it comes to England is if you play against Switzerland and you don't have a committed press, you are in trouble. If it's a bit lackadaisical, you are in trouble. Now, some of the goalkeeper will do a few things. Sometimes, if the pass isn't on to Xhaka, they want to move the ball up quickly, they will go long. They'll go long pretty quickly. They'll go all the way up if it's not on. But what they will often try and do is get that ball to Xhaka so that they can play centrally to then play out wide to then get in behind. So on this occasion, Xhaka's dropped a little bit deeper, and to create a bit of space for him, which you can kind of see here, Freuler will stay higher up. And if we allow this build-up phase to play out, we move it along, what you see is the ball goes back. Xhaka actually moves back himself, and Sommer gets on the ball, and gets on the ball and plays it to Sommer. And again, what we're talking about with Freuler, which is interesting, is he stays there, stays high. There's a real trust in Xhaka. You've obviously got a back three as well, which is going to make life a little bit easier. And this is 3 against 4, so they're comfortable. 5 if you had the goalkeeper here as well. And in terms of that sort of basic poor press, I guess, from Italy, they're not kind of at them. They're not, not really getting at them. Look, he's still off him. He's miles off him. And obviously the distance between the two. So you've got to be committed in your press. But what's really important here is, again, to get in behind, because what they do is they want to play the ball centrally. And if they can play the ball centrally, then they will then be able to play that wide ball. Now, there's always a pass out to Rodriguez, who's playing left-sided centre-back, which is an interesting one because he's generally known as a left full-back. And we'll come back to him as well because he is crucial if England are going to win this game. And there's a specific tactic that you guys should keep an eye out when it comes to the game itself. But again, that bravery, if we move it along, what Sommer does is he will play that pass. And he'll play it through because the press hasn't been that great and they're confident in what they want to do. Freuler, brave to sort of get into that space, but again, he's also got that out ball all the time. They'll be able to play that through. The ball is then, and I'm sure you could have seen that pass yourselves, is played up the line, and then all of a sudden, they're on the attack. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players have been taken out of the game. And that's not even using Xhaka. That's just the overall build-up when it comes to it. So they can play the ball long, and Sommer, it's about getting in behind different players. Okay, let's move along. I'll try to get to all super chats, actually, as we go along. Callum Jupp, a long-time watcher, first-time super chatter. Joe Gomez has played 70 games at left-back this season. Why is he not in the conversation? Am I missing something? I don't think you are missing something, and we will be talking about Joe Gomez very, very soon. In terms of the build-up, and because I think what's important here is you guys might not, a lot of you will do, but some might not know too much about Switzerland. So again, it's about understanding what are their threats against this England side. So Xhaka, again, another thing that's really crucial is in terms of that front three that we spoke about earlier. Again, they might start kind of wide. It will then turn into being about these triangles. So let me show you that, actually. It's probably worth it. So when it comes to those triangles higher up the pitch, it will be Vargas and Bolo will generally be here, but he might drop in. But what's really important about the player profiles here is that Vargas is such a willing runner in behind, as is Ndoye. But also importantly, as they work the ball up the pitch, there might be some times when you play in a big quick counter-attack and Bolo might get involved in that hold-up play, which we'll talk about in a second. But it will be these triangles. And I think, triangles is, or the Toblerone of doom, as I said previously. The Toblerone of doom. It could come and it could hurt us. Especially if we pick the wrong team. Don't do it, Gareth. Don't do it. Because what Vargas will do, and what's really interesting, I think, with these guys, is that in terms of passing, these guys turn into a bit of a triangle, let's say. Bosh, bosh, bosh. Which I know we see all the time, right? But what's really important is Vargas will actually come here sometimes, and he will either make this run, or he'll peel and make a run, or he'll look to make a run in behind. But when the ball doesn't make its way down this side, they will recycle and recycle and recycle until Xhaka can be in the right kind of spaces within these to hurt the opposition. Let me show you what I blimmin' mean, because if you're not backing up what you're saying, you're not really saying anything. So this is on a counter-attack, and as you can see in terms of where Mbolo is actually kind of been part of the build-up in this counter-attack, but Vargas is always... Actually, this is Zubir, but previously, they're always looking for that ball in behind. They always wants to play this ball, and that's something that, again, you guys should keep an eye out on. So we have to be switched on, England, because, let's be honest, we are the underdogs in this game. We talk about players, and you can scream at that all you want. We've been awful. We have not had cohesion. They have, and despite the price tags on these players, they are the better team right now. So we need to be ready about what their threats are. And this game will be so different to the other games that we played so far, where we're going to dominate the ball. It's incredibly likely that we won't dominate the ball. And that, again, if you're not going to press properly, it's not going to work out for us. And again, in terms of those triangles that I was just talking to you about, Xhaka will sometimes, pop into these different areas that he actually probably picked up for Arsenal at times as well. It's just a real understanding of where players are going to be. And actually, going back, I think I've made a mistake here. On this previous one, that's not even actually Xhaka. That's actually the right wing back. But the desire throughout is those three areas and then those driving positions in behind. That's what they want to do. And that's the aim of those players in particular. I've shown you the triangles there. And that's how they're going to play. The other thing to remember here. So say you go and stop Xhaka. You go and man mark him. You can't get on the ball with him. And you do the same with Freuler, which is what's kind of occurred here. It's a good example of it. The ball's not on. They're not going to mess about. They will just play that ball straight through to Mbolo. And again, it's really good. And we talk about the frustrations with the balance of England. What Switzerland don't have, and I'm desperate to say Austria all the time, but Switzerland don't have is these players that are willing to make those runs in behind. And so when Mbolo does drop deep, and essentially kind of becomes, I guess, an 8 here, really, dropping deep to pick up the ball. He's actually technically a lot better than people think. But crucially, and probably been the problem with England, is that if that was Kane doing it, Foden's been here if that's Kane. And Bellingham's been here as well, and at times has tried to make those runs. And we'll talk about my frustrations with him playing on the right-hand side in a second when we get to lineups. But that's another thing that you've got to keep an eye out on, guys. Akanji's a quality player, capable of doing that. So we'll create that passing lane and allow him to do it as well. So many different ways that we've got to be really, really clever in what we're doing defensively. So how do you get around them? And how do you get around this press? Because I think what's interesting here is this is Italy, who had an opportunity to do it. Chiesa got on the ball here. His body position is really poor. But he then is able to go on a bit of a run. And so in terms of you can go around them. This is actually the left wing back here, looking to press. Xhaka's out here covering. So they have got that contingency plan there. But in terms of the front three are high up the pitch as well. So they do commit a lot of bodies. And if you can get around, and obviously I guess this is the whole press, isn't it, if you really think about it. If you can get around that, then you've got a real opportunity to hurt them. And I think that's the thing with England that's going to be crucial is Gareth. And this is where it could turn ugly, right? We have to play quick. We have to maybe play a touch more direct. And we need to take out they're committing a lot of players, but we need to be smart with that play. So how do we do that? And I think we've got options to do that, which I'm about to talk about. So in terms of the kryptonite that's going to hurt this Switzerland side, they do commit players. They are very narrow defensively, and there is when it comes to that, there's a real option for us to hurt them. Let me show you exactly how. So we go to the Scots. And maybe the Scots have provided a bit of an answer for us. So we spoke about it. The theme of this video, I think, for a lot of it will be, wanting to get in behind and take players out of the game. I will try and get to all these super chats, by the way, but let me get through this bit first. So what Scotland did really, really well, and what Switzerland want them to do, is when he's pressing, he wants Grant Hanley to try and play this short pass. And if that happens, he's going to go at him. He's here with him. And look, they're pressing, they're getting at them. The best thing that's going to happen is a pass out. What Hanley does really well, that's the wrong curve. He plays it quick and he gets it to the front man. Quick and essentially quite direct. But what's important here is that Scott McTominay is alongside Shea Adams. And so that layoff is there and they can get away. If I move it on. that's exactly what happens. There's the layoff. And they're away. And actually it leads to Robertson all the way over on this side being able to put a cross in. But what's really crucial here is that against this side with a back three and a very narrow team as well, we need to be able to get through them. And I think that's going to be difficult with the press because we've just not been good enough to do that. So we need to find a different way. But is that round or importantly, over? I think that's going to be crucial for us because that's taken out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players out of the game. So again, I think this is the important thing I want to keep saying is that what is going to get spun, if it doesn't go well, this gets spun into negative play. But if we just play short, we are playing into their hands because we're not capable of being incisive enough. Like I just said here, if you play the ball here, there's no way that ball gets to McTominay. This way round, especially when they're pressing, it allows us to go. This is another great example. Why has this occurred? Why am I able to show you this where you've got so much space there to run into, but also so much space in behind? How do you do that? It's by playing quickly. And so who's the centre forward in all of this as well? I think it's really interesting, right? The ball's actually played quickly here. It's actually a longer pass. This is the centre forward who's actually laid the ball off and then he's gone to push that line back, to play quickly, to counter-attack. This is how you're going to hurt Switzerland. And then they're on their way. But the true kryptonite is about to be revealed. Because if we move it along, what happens regularly is that Switzerland defend very, very, very narrow. And when they are very, very narrow, that means there is such an opportunity for a cross. And what I like to call a back post party. That's back post party. Now, back post parties can be great fun, especially for England in this game. Now, do you want a left-sided player to go and do that? Do you want a right-sided player to do that? Two different questions. And we've spoken about going round the press. When you're going around the press, you probably need players that are going to take players out of the game and be able to dribble with the ball. So that's one asset that we need to get ourselves up the pitch. But again, if we're going to play that a little bit longer, and I would advise that, I think at times we should look for that. What's important here is that this person's not got close yet. They often defend very, very narrow. So that ability to have that moment, if you can get the right kind of triangle, there's a huge opportunity to be able to put a great cross into that back post on both sides of the pitch. But in particular on this left-hand side. Because what you do have as well, in terms of that left-sided centre-back, is Rodriguez. So a good chance comes from that. And this is another great example. So this is late on in the game. And I think Germany score from this moment, this action, right? But what's more important than anything is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the back 5. So narrow. Germany know this. They work the ball out wide. He has so much space to do. And what you really want is someone who can go drive with the ball, but can also put a cross in. That's what you want. But what's important here as well is this. Come back. Rodriguez. He is the weak link at the back post. And Germany know this. And so what's crucial here is one, Akanji is world class. And Shah is a big old centre-back. But on that left-hand side, if you go to the back post and overload it, Füllkrug, Kai Havertz, Rudiger, get on that man. Go to the back post. I think Kimmich is on his way as well, right? The goal comes from that Füllkrug with the header. So for us to hurt them, in terms of getting in behind, that's one thing, which we'll talk about. But secondly, in terms of moving up the pitch and then doing something, I think we need the right players, both on the left-hand side to put those crosses in, or both sides. But the crosses it could be a great way for us to hurt the opposition, and in particular on that left-hand side, looking to get to Rodriguez because they play very, very narrow defensively and commit a lot of bodies as well. Okay. everyone. So, let's talk lineups. This is not what should happen. This is what I'm afraid of. It's what I'm petrified of. I am so scared of this. I do not want to see this. Okay? Please don't show me this. If Gareth does this, and I have really tried to get behind him, and like after each game, as long as you're in the competition, draw a line, get behind the boys. Okay? And even if he plays this, there are actually elements that you could probably do. But for the love of God, please don't play this team. Because what we've spoken about, Austria are going to attack. They're going to attack him behind. So we've got to be ready for that. We've also got to have something going forward. And I thought Southgate was really, really poor in that last game. And essentially this is that team. But you want Gallagher to go get Xhaka. But I think the middle of the pitch is going to be so important. And also going in behind. But this just would not work. And I really hope he doesn't go down this road. And just to say, I haven't had the chance to talk to you guys properly about this one. Bellingham, when we talk about those triangles on one side that we maybe need to match up with them, and someone like Trippier and the struggles that he's had. I was at the game and I was able to see it in a different way. Because when Bellingham has been over here, which he has done, and maybe if he plays his team, he goes down this road. He plays Gallagher up here, essentially how we did against Slovenia. He might play like that. I still don't think that's the right idea. But that would be a better idea than this. And actually, even Mainu in there as well, instead of Gallagher. Because Bellingham taking his space did not work. It killed. It absolutely killed Trippier. Because Trippier's body language, and I'm going to draw it probably quite badly here. It meant when I was watching the game, first of all, we don't have runners in behind. So forget that part of the pitch. And then because of the way that Trippier plays, this part of the pitch was also dead. So we were literally playing in this area of the pitch. Now, when we had Bellingham over here, that opened up that area of the pitch a little bit. Okay, he doesn't want to be there. It's not, he's not ideal there. But the other thing that killed us in that game was when he played Mainu. If you're going to play Mainu and then put Bellingham in his space, why would you do that? You're also taking a space for Kane to go into as well by playing Mainu and Bellingham there. I thought it was terrible. And the final thing is, you then know there's loads of players in the middle for the opposition, so that's easier to defend. And also with Foden, all you got to deal with is he coming short, which he generally was, or is he going to be there? If you have two players there, that's two different thoughts, and it gives Trippier that little bit more option. So as much as Trippier is the wrong guy there, if you're going to do this, good God, don't play Trippier. Dunk is, I have this horrible feeling he's going to play Dunk. That would be the wrong decision again for me. When you think of, I think Mbolo is going to be a real handful. But also, are we going to have to be able to run those channels, those sort of gentle channels? He's not going to be able to do that. And if you do that, you're actually probably going to have to do something like this, which I just don't think is a good idea at all. I think this doesn't work. I think it leaves spaces in behind. It offers very little going forward, and it doesn't allow us to hurt the opposition. So the one thing that you can also say about this is, does Luke Shaw make a difference? How much better does that look? A lot better. Right? I get that. But I also would say that to start Shaw now, I just don't see him doing that. Look, none of us know how fit he is. He has not played. There's no way he plays 90 minutes. Of that, we're sure. So we have to go down different routes. We need to see different things. So that's what I think Southgate could do. And if he does do that, I think we're walking into an absolute disaster. One thing I would say, if we do end up playing this way, is what it would need to become about is, again, playing quickly, playing forwards. Let's keep Shaw in there just for a second. But say Trippier's in there. Go on, let's do it. Because it might be this ugly, guys. Let's just be ready for it, okay? We're still going to stick behind the lads. What's crucial, is going to be crucial here, is Kane or Bellingham essentially turning into a 4-4-2. And these two playing as a pair. Because we need to play the ball up quickly and they need to work together. And then it's about that third pass. So who's that third pass going to be to? Can Foden get up there in time? Can Saka get up there in time? That is the route if Southgate decides to play this team, which I think would be incorrect. So what would I play? Here's what I would play. And I want to hear what you guys have to say as well. And I'm going to get to those super chats. Don't you worry. I think we go back three. I think we should go to a back three because it doesn't have to just be a back three, right? I think what's important here, and I'll work my way through it. I'm on the fence on one, so I'm going to ask you a question in a second. So Luke Shaw, look, in a perfect world, and he's fit, and life's great. Can't even find Luke Shaw here. Where is he? I haven't got Luke Shaw on here. Let's say Luke, where are you? There he is. Luke Shaw, you could do that. It just disappeared. You could do that. And what would be useful with that, I guess, if overall, balance. And this is the thing I'm going for here. We have to have balance. Jack Brooks says, calling us the underdogs is crazy. I get it. I understand, mate. I was not happy with Southgate at all in that last game. We got lucky. But here we are. So what I'm intrigued to see, there's two things. There's the setup and then there's the principles of play. Like, how are we going to play? He might go this pragmatic approach, but if the principles are wrong, if we're just playing slow, it's a disaster waiting to happen. We have to have a plan to be that little bit more direct. So, look, in a perfect world, Shaw is fit, he comes and plays, and what we could do, and it goes against what I'm kind of put together here, is that it allows you to go to a back four here. But this is the problem for me. I think we need to go to a back three. And I think if we need to go to a back three, Shaw doesn't totally work with it. So the previous formation, that works a little bit more when you've got an out-and-out back four. But I think what we saw was that we need that balance on the left-hand side. And again, if we talk about Trippier as a kind of as a triangle on that left-hand side, Trippier was playing up here a lot in the Slovenia game. So imagine Saka there. You just all of a sudden exhale because you've got a guy who can go that way as well as just, having some interplay. So I don't think Shaw starts. I'm not sure he should start. Gomez, there was a super chat on it. I don't hate this. And I think there's two things to remember here. First of all, in terms of an overall shape with the ball, I like Gomez there. He is a centre-back. And if you want to then go back to it, first of all, a 4, you can become that. Second of all, that's if Trent's high at some point. But also importantly, don't be totally afraid of that. You can go, it's defensive. Well, the important thing is the centre of the pitch and the opposition not getting in behind us. And so defensively might be a bit more like this, which I don't because Switzerland want to go in to go out. So if you make them go long, we've got players around it and we've got players who can tidy up a little bit tighter. But also, and we'll get to Trent, someone who can do something with the ball in these spaces as well. It could be really, really great for us. So this is the team I want to see. Walker has been so poor. But I think you kind of, especially if you're going to play Saka as that left wing back, and I thought he did really well, diligent work, great on the ball. Also, when we're talking about getting around the press, could drive with the ball, could quickly play it inside and go. Trippier's not going to do that. Luke Shaw, let's be honest, has not got the fitness to do that. So I think Saka has to start on that left-hand side. The one thing you might want to do is you might want to play Konsa. Now, the reason you might want to play Konsa is because they have some sizable players as well. So if we are concerned about that and set pieces, then you could go down that route. But Joe Gomez is no slouch. I think Joe Gomez would be just fine. Is he a little bit kind of cold because he's not played enough games? Maybe that's something to be said, but Konsa's not played many more minutes either. So I would like to see us play with a back three. And I think it would just really help everyone. Because when we talk about those triangles, we are starting to see those triangles again. Let's talk about Trent, right? The reason I want to play Trent is I think we want to play quick, right? And if we want to play quick, I think we might want to stretch the pitch a little bit. And as I said previously, you want to be able to get Foden in more central areas. You've got Saka who can work down that side. And so on the other side, we don't need someone bombing on just as much. Now, people are going to be screaming about Palmer, which I totally understand, but that is very, very attacking. And also you've got the option to play, who's your first sub? I think Palmer's clearly the first sub. And actually, as I was watching that game, I think I might have even said it in a video, you've got to start Palmer now. You've got to start him. But having watched Switzerland and how narrow they are, I do think this is maybe one for Trent. And, it's not an 11-man game. It's about those players that can change it. I think you've got to play Mainu. The reason I would like to see Mainu is I think, again, as we move up the pitch, you've got more exciting stuff. And actually, just to reiterate that point, I think these two play together. And what it allows by playing that back three is, yes, you've got Saka who can get on his bike, but you've got Foden who can come and get involved with this, right? So say that long ball happens to Kane. Can he play it to Bellingham? Or that ball goes to Bellingham. Can he play it to Kane? Okay? And then once that moment happens, you need that third runner. I can see Foden being that third runner. Bit like Trippier was the pass for Kane when he picked up the ball here and we had the goal disallowed. I think Foden can do that. But also Bellingham can eat the ground too. So if it's one where Kane gets the ball and his touch takes him there and he sees that, Foden's got the ability to play that pass and Bellingham can make that run as well. So it's kind of turning these guys into a bit of a sort of a three on their own, because I'm not sure we're good enough to build through. If we're not going to be able to go through, especially if they're going to press high, it's about utilising the space. And again, I think that's where Trent could come into his own. I think he'd be comfortable here. And I think as we move up the pitch, Bellingham's going to come in this space, Kane here. If we talk about that idea of getting over to that left-hand side and putting good crosses in, is it Declan Rice who comes and gets involved here, or does Declan Rice just dig a hole? I think he probably does. And you just give Mainu actually a bit of freedom to go and work that triangle. Bring Stones up here. So all of a sudden, you're still kind of pretty solid here. Solid if they're going behind, because Walker's going to stay back. Walker has offered nothing going forward, so you've got someone like Trent here. Bellingham can make those runs at times if you need him to. And Mainu can come and get involved, but Mainu, I think, would naturally come in and get involved this side as well. Bellingham needs to drop in, then that could be fine. You can go and do that. It could be quite fluid in terms of Mainu being involved, but also Mainu stepping back when you lose the ball and being kind of clever, because I don't think we've got the quality to out-and-out press them. I just don't see it. So we are then going to have to be a mid-block. And if you are going to be a mid-block, then it's about not letting players through the middle. But when it comes to this Austria side, it's not getting hurt the other side. So once we've got the ball, what I like the idea of is a couple of things. First of all, across to Kane. Can we get in around them that way? But also, can we stretch? If we're thinking about how narrow they might be, and I might just move it along now one, so we can do it here. If they are going to be narrow, and Saka's going to keep it high for us. Vidmir might come in here. Foden as well, naturally will want to come in here. Kane is going to be occupying those defenders, isn't he? You can have these guys, but again, if they're going to press and commit players, Bellingham's going to be an option here, right? Abisha, however you say it, is going to have to want to get Trent. Does he want to get tight to him? If he does get tight to him, then there's a new space here. Mainu can kind of understand that, and we can work in those triangles again. It's our own Toblerone of doom. Am I right? But that switch of play, to play that pass, and what's crucial here is we've played that switch. But when we played that switch, it's to Trippier. And Trippier's not going to even flirt with the idea of getting down the line. So even if he goes to do that and then comes back in, that suits Foden. You know, if it's working its way to the other side, you know, you might have Mainu. Let's move us back here. Mainu can come and get involved, and Trent can put some great crosses in. Again, can we hurt the back post? Can we hurt the front post with Rodriguez? I think Trent could be great for us here. And again, if you move over to this side, Foden's going to be in those half spaces. He might even drop deeper. Mainu might drop there. But say Declan Rice, who's going to be that deeper player, is he going to drop in? Mainu can come and chill here as well. We've seen him do that. And so you work it over there. They're pretty narrow, as we've seen. There's just a lot of space. And Trent, of course, would come in and come in narrow here. But we've still got bodies. We've still got people who can run this way and get us out of trouble as well. That is the right way to play, in my opinion. Obviously, there's a discussion over Shaw. And look, I think the other thing you can do when it's getting near the end, it's our boy Tony. Can he come and hurt them? Foden playing in a more, central position for the bulk of it. That suits someone like Eze. If you need to go for it and you've got to trade Trent out, so be it. I think it gives us good options. I think it gives us a better balance. This man has to play. and he has to play on the left, I think. We need that balance. We need it. I'm going to talk about, I want to go through your super chats now, so let's do that. But let me know your thoughts. Now's the time. Let's talk. Because this is huge, right? What I will say as well is I think most likely I'm going to be watching it at home. So I'll be doing player ratings straight after the game. So make sure you join me. Hopefully a very ecstatic, hoarse-voiced Jimbo. How much of the Swiss game against Italy were poor and allowed them to look good? I mean, the Swiss struggled against Scotland. So I thought the press was poor from Italy. They were a bit toothless going forward as well. And I don't think they played the ball quickly, up quickly enough. That was the difference. I think there was a better tenacity about Scotland. And I think Italy, as we showed in that first part of the build-up, not connected in what they wanted to do. There's enough players getting sucked in, and then they were able to play over the top of them. And that's what absolutely did them in the end of it all. Thank you for the super chat. DOF. Trippier Walker horror shows recently. Totally agree. Jude, Foden, Kane have occupied the same spots in all 4 games, and it can't continue. Either at the back or drop Foden. Bellingham has not played in the same spot. He hasn't. He's played the first 3 games, I would say, they were sort of trying to do the similar thing. But actually, even in the 3rd game, Bellingham was making run after run in behind. And then after that, I'll tell you what, I'll get rid of this lot. And then after that, in the last game, he played on this right-hand side, as I said. So I would have to disagree with you there, mate, because he was in these areas a lot. But again, when we think about that back post, I would not be surprised if we saw a back post goal. And again, I think with Saka, when he can get here, what's going to be important actually is Kane maybe with a decoy run to sort of keep Akanji thinking and Akanji away from it. Because if he does that, then that leaves so much space. And Bellingham can absolutely dominate Rodriguez. And I also think that the same goes for Tony. I think Tony is most likely to be the first substitute, if you're going to try and go a bit more aerially. But also I like the idea of, him at either side of it winning that. And what I really like the idea of as well is, I guess you've got to be brave enough to take off Bellingham, which, of course, are you really going to do that now? But if you are going to do that and you bring on Tony, I love the idea of these two playing together, almost as a 3-5-2. And actually, defensively, that's something that's worth keeping in mind, is you can go to a back five. If we're in the lead, we can absolutely do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that right? I think that's right. 3-5-2. Nothing wrong with that. And let those two kind of, okay, Bellingham, you can go. But Kane and Tony kind of working together. There's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. But I agree. I think Walker's very fortunate. He's fortunate that we don't have that, left back who's in a great space. And also, that option maybe of, if you can have Saka over on that side who wants to go that little bit more, to be able to kind of have Trent to kind of come back, who's obviously world class as well, is good for us. And that's all your super chats. Okay. Did I keep saying Austria? I know I keep saying Austria. I'm so sorry. I just keep seeing red, and I for the longest time I kept thinking that. I'm sorry. But you get the point. Right, guys, let me know who is in your team. Who should be starting? How do we win? What have you seen from Switzerland? That would make us feel differently. And, come on, England. Fingers crossed. You never know. Oh, super chat, quickly. Kane, with no running wings except for Saka might be tricky. Saying that, I do like the 3 at the back for this tournament. Got to be a plan B. There you go. And James must be one of the most